So there are lots of ways to build Niv-Mizzet Reborn, especially with not only the addition of Lightning Helix in the most recent Mystical Archive, but also, just the addition of various things like Vanishing Verse and Prismari Command out of the latest Strixhaven set. This build that I am looking to work on here today, the idea is to build a more controlling variation that kind of doesn't lean on green for color fixing. So our mana base is something that I spent a lot of time thinking about. And for people that are numbers dorks like me, our mana base has 15 black, 14 white, 14 blue, 14 red, and 9 green. So we're kind of base everything but green, with a small green splash for Klothys, Pulse, and then obviously Niv at the top end of our curve. And those numbers don't include golden eggs. So we've got 29 lands in total. So I want to see if this archetype can feel like it's consistent enough without explicit fixing from green. We have a little bit from Golden Egg here, and Prismari Command does make treasure tokens, which technically sack for mana of any color, so this is fixing in a pinch as well. So excited to see if this feels like it can hold up, or if maybe we do need to be in that base screen for things, like Paradise Druid, Attune with the Aether, and other green fixing that can find mana of any color. So let's go ahead and dive on into some games with this and see how this feels this morning. We've got a different 5-color Niv deck up on my website that has the energy base on it that's felt really good with lots of fixing. You see them adding Eidolon to Historic eventually. You have to be more specific. Do you mean of the Great Revel, the red one? If so, very possibly. Pengu Power, thanks for the 19 months. Welcome back. Remember that time I top Fort Hoots and Jeff had to show Reclamation on coverage for 2 consecutive rounds? Yeah, you're a monster. Now, okay, so this hand is like a win and a loss. So we have our colors, but we also don't have a land that puts this into play untapped. So like 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other. Yeah, Great Revel isn't Pioneer, right? Yeah, remember all of the cards that are Pioneer legal will eventually be Historic legal. I mean, blue-green taking turns is legal, Enya, but that one's probably novel enough that I wouldn't mind having it on coverage on occasion. Alright, so we're playing against Phoenix here. They haven't been to Bird yet. I think we just go tapped land on the Sulfur Falls, then we can shock Klothys next turn. It's really bad without Reclamation Nexus. I don't know. I kind of like the build of Phoenix we played on stream. So we are on 29 lands. We'll see if we're lucky enough to find one of said lands next turn. We get 2 shots at it at least. Okay, perfect. So this gets to take a Faithless Looting, and then I could go ahead and Thought Erasure to kind of pick apart their hand a little bit here. I would love to... Huh. I just take their Charter Course? I think I just take the Charter Course, right? Hey, Silver Axe, thanks for the brand new Prime support. And there's a ton of great people you can send that to every single month there on Twitch. Thanks for sending it this way and keeping me around. Yeah, Klothys. Klothys is great. Super good threat in this format right now. So they have Finale of Promise. So that means I want to prioritize taking things that they could be flashing back with that if they don't have other graveyard stuff. I think we're just Solar Blazing here and saving ourselves some damage. So I have blue, red, black, white, green. I can play Niv Reborn next turn. So far, our deck looking reasonable in terms of the big test that I'm going to keep wanting to keep track of in this deck is, can we cast our spells? So far, we are passing the test. Look at him looking at me so angry, chat. Opponent's seen enough. Definitely want my extra Vanishing Verse and my extra Klothys. Maelstrom Pulse seems great. Tyrant Scorn, probably not particularly good. I guess it kits Sprite Dragon, but that's about it. The animation is very, very good. You're not wrong. Every hero Dominaria is probably a little slow here, right? I think I'd rather have Rip Apart than Clarion. I guess this cleans up Phoenixes, though. Maybe it is a Clarion matchup. It's only one more mana than Rip Apart, and the artifact and enchantment aspect of this isn't going to be relevant. Let's try this. Is this Bring to Niv? Yeah, I did take some inspiration from the Bring to Niv lists in Pioneer. So we don't have Bring to Light in this format yet, but is Clarion just better than Solar Flare? No, they can prowess their Stormwings and they can prowess their Stormwings and they can make their Sprite Dragons bigger than 3. Again, it looks like we have all of our colors of mana. We're going to be able to cast our spells on curve, which is all you could really ask for. Do I shock this in so I can Vanishing Verse their 3-drop? I think the answer is, or their Storming. I think the answer is no. Maybe we just like go tapped and then play Klothys into Solar Blaze once we have that curve again. Yeah, I think I could probably do either of those, Slayer, whichever you'd prefer. You can't Vanishing Verse the back. Yeah, I was talking about in case they went cantrip, what's it called? Yeah, I'm not sure if we need the egg. There's a chance we don't. There's a chance we could just, like, play land number 30 and then not play the egg. For sure. Stormwing Entity's monocolored. People talking about that. How many birds do you have? 0 so far. Huh. So if I exile this, I could make red, and then I'd have blue, black, white, green, and I could play Niv here. I have to shock to do that, though. I feel like that's probably wrong, and I probably like they have a bunch of mana up here. I feel like Mystic Dispute's pretty likely. I'm just gonna take a looting, play a tapped land, and pass. Yeah, feels like they have a counterspell for sure. And if they don't give me anything worth spending mana on here, I'm gonna loot plus make a treasure. Oh, I don't have mana to Prismari Command. Okay, yeah, I should be paying closer attention. Yikes. Yeah, I think we're dead, fam. Ooh, yeah, I should have. I assume this is getting disputed. It's a pretty big oopsie poopsie. Assume we're dead here. Yeah, they have looting in the bin. Well, there's a spell we couldn't cast. Devil, thank you for the entire year. To many more marches. Yikes. I think I'm happy with how we boarded. Dorat's real good. Do I want more ways to kill Dorat? I think I'm going to try and run it back here. I mean, that deck has a lot of room to play around Claim the Firstborn. You don't have to run your cards out into something like that. Ah, yes, the turn 1 Brainstorm. Hey, Gendy. Good morning, good morning. That's scary. Yeah, we have an A+ emote. It's definitely a thing that exists. I think we're alluding to. Well, Clarion can help clean up at least. Running Lorwyn? Are they on creativity? No, they're just like blue-red. We actually haven't seen Phoenixes. They're blue-red spells, blue-red prowess with probably alliances out of the sideboard. We do have 2 copies of Maelstrom Pulse in our deck that can clean these up. It's so... I really hate deck ownership in card games. It's Croaky's deck. Listen, chat, people have been playing shitty blue-red prowess decks before Croaky's ever put his hands on a Magic card, okay? See if they have a way to kill this, or if we get to gain 5 here. If we get to gain 5, we should be in a pretty okay spot. That's kind of annoying. But I mean, honestly, like, not only is it silly to credit people with deck ownership, but especially in formats like Historic, people do themselves an active disservice by making assumptions on what their opponents are playing. Like, you'll like, the number of times I hear people be like, oh no, they don't play that card because this is Croaky's or Jim Davis's or, you know, whoever's deck list they saw play it, and then the opponent immediately plays the card that someone in chat is asserting that they don't play because they're definitely playing X content creator's deck list. It's like, people, even if they were inspired by seeing someone play an archetype on stream, people love twisting and tweaking and tuning Magic decks, right? Like, that's the best thing about Magic, is optimizing decks. So, like, people put themselves at a disadvantage by making assumptions that their opponent is or isn't playing certain things because they saw creator X not play that card. They, like, completely turn off their brain and decide that because Creator X didn't play this card that's reasonable in the archetype, I should ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist when I can reasonably play around it. Yeah, and that's even before you get into like, okay, think about the Magic Arena economy where it can be expensive to get exact deck lists sometimes. So like, not only do people change things because like they just want to experiment, but they also change things for budgetary reasons too. Man, these improbable alliances are just dumpstering us. So again, it like isn't even just about, you know, it isn't even just about like deck ownership is silly. It is. But like you are hurting yourself as a player when you could be thinking about things that your opponent could be reasonably representing that's like in the range of what their deck could play and writing it off because Creator X didn't play it. Nifty. I wonder if they're playing this in addition to these. Like, do they have 4 of these plus Firemind's Research? I think we gotta do this, unfortunately. Actually, let's do this, because this could potentially gain me life later. Well, that's the very real downside to sequencing the way I did. We're dead, fam. Yeah, I could technically do both of these, but we're not recovering here. And this is, you know, this is pretty typical control deck problems, basically, where, so the build around requirement for this was to build a more controlling Niv deck. And even if our mana's functional, I would kind of be surprised if this is better than the more proactive Ephemery Energy Niv deck that we have up on the site, just because formats like Historic, where there's so many different threats, tend to not reward you for being super reactive. And that game's a great example why, right? Like, I had a couple of Maelstrom Pulses in my deck, but I drew Helixes and Clarions, which would have been good against my opponent's Sprite Dragon plan, but they just drew a different part of their deck that game, which meant that my cards just didn't line up at all into what they were playing. Tuffles and Dr. Susamus, thanks for the follows. Okay, couple of hands here where we are mulliganing because of our mana. Yikes. Okay, well, my opponent is playing Yorion, so hopefully we're gonna have some time. We're gonna have some time to fumble around here. Hey, Clador, thank you for the entire year. Welcome back. All right, well, spells are castable at least. Let's see if we can draw some. Joke's on you, opponent. That spell sucks in this matchup anyways. Some 4-color Doom Foretold action on the other side here, maybe? Let's take a peekaboo and find out. Are they also 5-color niving? I think they might also be 5-color niving, chat. Magical Jobo, thank you for the 7 months. Good morning, good morning. Is that a good draw? For those of you taking notes at home, you should note that I skillfully left the Teferi Hero of Dominaria on top of my deck there. Oh, this draw. I was surprised they didn't just draw Yorion. This draw makes sense. Now, unfortunately, our deck is slow enough that our opponent's going to have time to get to these Magma Opus in this game. We might just get bigger fished here. I would bet that the opponent's a 5-color Niv deck as well, and their greed is just consuming them completely. If I tried drawing non-lands, yeah, I drew Hero of Dominaria. He's great.
Time for plan B. As soon as I think. Let's skip to the good part.
Vanishing Verse actually has no text against us, right? It's actually just a blank card. Well, if I'd have shocked this, I could have cycled and done this. Ooh, that's a nice one. The card that's quite excellent as we go along. MTG bot is back to the land of the living. You love to see it. Hey, thanks for the tip, Slayer. Assume that's to add your Sedgemoor Witch Brew to the queue. Sounds fantastic. As a heads up, the queue has built back up a little bit, so I've got my 3 decks lined up for tomorrow morning stream already, and then I'm off Thursday because of my vaccine booster, so that'll be up on Friday morning. What are we playing next? We're going to be playing Jund Spells and Grixis Control this morning. Is Goblins a deck you're willing to take on stream at any point? Yeah, I'd take Goblins for a donation. I wouldn't mind having a video set with Goblins so I could throw it up on the website. That deck's not like the end-all be-all of the format anymore, but it's still very reasonable. Pulse is nice. I think I'm going to take the Magma Opus just in case they're like super greedy and they're also a Gearhulk deck.
Let's skip to the good part.
So they have 7 mana in play. I'm going to go ahead and play the Wellspring here because they could be Magma Opusing us next turn anyways, so I would like to... This kind of forces them to, like, trial this or Magma Opus. I assume this Teferi's about to die to an Opus, but even if we get in, like, 1 hit with Wellspring, that would be fine. This match looks like budget commander decks. Yeah, we're definitely... Both of our decks are definitely pretty greedy. I'm hoping that Klothys is going to just, like, drag us kicking and screaming across the finish line. Oh, they drew Helix too? Yeah, that's rough.
Really should have seen that coming.
Really need to draw a Niv to gas back up. I'm gonna sack this so we have all of our colors at this point. I don't know. know, if they play things that get stuff back from the bin, so I'm just going to prioritizing taking things I don't want to see come back. They could, like, realistically be playing something along the lines of, what's the word I'm searching for? Elspeth Conquers Death? Maybe. Yeah, we'll see. They have a lot of multicolored cards, so I'm thinking there's a good chance they're also a Niv deck. And, like, if they're also a Niv deck, they probably aren't playing, they probably aren't playing that. This technically gives them lifelink, but I think we're going to take the Opus here. We have a lot of single card for a Niv deck. I think you're underestimating the greed of my opponent's deck. I guess we haven't seen green mana out of them yet. That's probably, honestly, that's probably more telling for me than they're playing single colored cards. No green mana probably means. Let the land destruction flow. What on, Admain? Thanks for the 48. We're supposed to start getting, Admin, since you're here, we're supposed to start getting new spawns in Pogo today, right? Or is that not till later? I thought it was the 4th. Well, you know. Alright, 28 cards, but we finally found one. Now, the rough part here is this is going to make us discard 2 cards this turn. Good thing we're drawing 4. Oh, do I just Vanishing Verse the Demonic Pact? I think I Vanishing Verse the Demonic Pact. They started 10 local. Okay, sweet. So they'll be up after I go live after I'm done streaming today. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely a Doom Foretold deck. Dance could definitely be on the radar. So probably want to prioritize. I took Doom Foretold out of their bin already, but probably want to prioritize taking enchantments out, yeah. Pogo is Pokemon Go. If you're someone who plays Pokemon Go as a subscriber, you should make sure you're in the Discord server. You should be in the Discord server anyways, but we have a very active community there. So, we hit the point where we had to put up a baby gate because Haley is all over it into everything. And apparently Jacob just... I shouldn't laugh because he's making Christy's life difficult, but apparently Jacob just opened the baby gate because, and I quote, Haley wanted to go upstairs. It's like, yeah, Jake, that's the point. That's the point. She wants to go upstairs. That's why there's a gate. How do we feel about... Yeah, I think we just, like, shock loot, and we could hit a Helix and kill them, right?
I know my response. Hurry!
Opus over Egg is an interesting thought. I didn't think about Opus as a potential mana fixing tool, but that's a good thought. That's a really, really good thought. I like that. I like that idea a lot, actually. It could definitely be worth trying. At a minimum, we could coward split it, because in situations like this where we go late, that sounds great. You want me to recreate the opponent's deck? Yeah, I think that's fine. It wouldn't be up till Friday as a heads up. Yeah, a little bit of a backlog, but yeah, I think I'd take four color Doom Foretold stuff.
Let me know if you're up for round 2.
Okay, so in response to this trigger, I Helix them because then they can't cast spells, right? And then Klothys kills them. Okay, so Veto sounds great. Fracture sounds great. Klothys sounds good. Rip Apart sounds good. Tyrant Scorn is not very good. Solar Blaze is not very good. Eggs. So we were talking about Egg versus Magma Opus. I can see that being a good chain, but Egg's actually very good here. Vanishing Verse. I know we use this to tag a demonic pack, but this is probably worse than a lot of the other cards that I have in my deck right now. I guess there's a question of, I know this was Reach at the end, but would I rather have Helix or Vanishing Verse here? It's probably Vanishing Verse, huh? Tagging Pact seems really good. Hey, thanks for the tip, Niv. I hate my money and I love Doom Foretold. Sounds good. I appreciate the support. Hey, good luck on your final, Roosh. All right, let's do it. Coward split it, maybe. I don't know. Helix is basically only Reach here, right? And only 14 cards to the sideboard. The Wellspring's the sideboard card. I believe we have 14 plus Wellspring. Our opponent's mulligan to 4. We won the last game off of mulligan to 5. I'm gonna hold up Veto here because Treacherous Blessing is a way they get back in this game. I'd like to counter that if they try and play it. I'm gonna hold this for now. This might be cycling. Let's get this game over with. Wow, look how unlucky we are. We have to discard here. I really like the idea of Opus over Egg. I think I'm going to do that. How many lands do I have that don't make red or blue. Yeah, almost all of our lands make red or blue. We have 5 out of 29, so we have 24 lands that let us discard Magma Opus. It gives us more greedy top end too. That sounds sick. This is technically a ramp spell too, right? Which is great. Yeah, I like that idea a lot. And honestly, Richard, like, your suggestion is such a good example of a useful suggestion, right? You said, would this card be better than this other thing? And this is why it's potentially better than this other thing. And to give a direct quote here on what Richter said, they said, wouldn't Magma Opus be better than Golden Egg in this deck? It still fixes mana, but also ramps, and the card disadvantage can be mitigated by Niv. Like, talked about what we could replace, talked about what it did better, what it did worse, considerations, like, just really, really fantastic overall. Get that, chat. You can teach Twitch chat. It's great. Twitch chat is learning. We also added 4 mythics to the deck. Yeah, so like from a keeping plebeians from playing our sweet deck. It's a good way to gatekeep as well. Sardox, thanks for the 20 months. Welcome back. We'll put this into play tap, then we can do this untapped and play Klothys next turn. Oh, they have untapped blue. You know, like flash in a Dorko would make me sad. I have to go outside and check and see if the sky is falling. Yeah. What are the costs would be to have an entire MTGA collection? If you mean actual everything, including play sets of unplayable mythics, it's about $400 times the number of sets would give you a good estimate. If you want just like the historic playable cards, it's probably closer to $200 times the number of sets, with a little bit of extra for things like the remaster sets. I think we're playing against Milchap. How many sets are there on Arena? A lot. A lot. Magma Opus made its biggest splash in standard as it has in historic. No, not really. I have to imagine this is terrible for us. Our deck just does not have a good clock. It's a great draw. I get to Scorn this, and we get to Pulse this. Six, 7, 8. Well, that's rude. Maybe Opus plus Klothys is gonna let us let's punch through here, we'll see. imagine this is probably not resolving, but I also got to shoot my shot because we're dying here. Might be wrong not prioritizing shooting them, but making the extra mana here seems potentially good. Sounds good, Ninja, I understand. You know, I think I'm actually just gonna go ahead and concede this match. I don't think our deck really has a chance to win here, and the opponent's deck is like as far off from a deck as you could get, and again, this is just the risk you take playing a control deck like this, right? Like, if you want to play a deck like this, you have to accept that when you run into random jank like Mill, you're gonna die, because we're trying to play a control deck that has answers to specific things, and when your opponent doesn't have those specific things, you're just gonna have a bad time. When they're attacking from an axis like milling us, it's very good against us. You just gotta write those losses off. Black Star Dark, thanks for the follow. Can you play Hoots from mobile? I mean, you could technically screen share from mobile. I don't know how well it works. I would err on the side of no. Man, I didn't realize how much I missed my shuffling deck at my desk until I had it back in my hands again. Every day I'm shuffling, chat. Oh, you know what? When I looked at our lands earlier, I said we only had 5 lands that didn't discard Opus. It was actually 9. Indatha Triome doesn't do it. That's fine, though. There's all 20 lands that discard to this, but it is worth noting that, like, if I play this on 1, I can't discard this on 2. Glad you're enjoying BioShock. I love the first 2 games and can't play the third, as half the game is flying over a dizzying landscape. Yes. It is a little disorienting in spots for sure. Welcome back, Ostin. So they probably have a counterspell for this Hero of Dominaria anyways, so I think we're just passing here rather than ramping. I think it looks like they're just Jeskai control, so I probably want to save this to cast as a spell. Yeah, we started the original BioShock as a variety game yesterday. We're a couple hours in. We'll be continuing that this afternoon at the end of the stream. The opponent's missing land drops and we're not, so it feels like a win for us. We'll see if they just like YOLO a Gear Hulk here. That's not good for us, obviously. The problem is they're blinking first, but my hand doesn't do anything. I really like Prismari Command. I think being able to kill artifacts at instant speed is very valuable. Prismari Command's also another way to ramp. And I cut fixing for other fixing. So, like, I think 7 pieces of fixing is appropriate in my 5-color deck. I also, like, adding Magma Opus is actually less reason to add more Teferi, because Magma Opus is more top-end as well. So adding even more top-end to the game is not, it's my deck, it does not seem ideal. Alright.
Let's skip to the good
Is there a
part.
kickback system for variety games? I'm not sure what you mean, Squid Squad. Ugh. Well, at least Niv-Mizzet technically doesn't draw cards. I guess we're doing this in response. I wanted to do this at end of turn after Teferi untapped, but... bleh. Oh, no, I'm just playing variety games for fun. They're explicitly me making time on stream to enjoy myself. They're not really a business venture. Games, I am a filthy casual who plays games for fun. Yeah, it feels like we're dead here at this point, right? Like, they've got memory lapse, they've got their 2 planeswalkers set up. Like, I've got this, but I'm gonna get lapsed out of it. Justin Alajan, thanks for the 13 months. I appreciate that. Welcome back. I guess I could jam this 2 turns in a row, but when it gets counted the second time, I'm gonna concede, I think. I give it one more chance next turn, but I assume we're done.
We need to move quickly.
I have just the trick for this.
I mean, I wouldn't say no to a free copy of a game. I enjoy things not costing me money. I'm not quite big enough to pull in clout for free copies of, like, AAA games, but, like, for smaller indie projects, I can usually wrangle up free copies if I ask them and tell them I'm going to stream it. We're popular enough for that. Hobbies are required to be monetized to be valid. Yeah, something like that. Oh, capitalism. Right. Probably rip apart over Helix, because this could destroy Gear Hulk, and it still hits Planeswalkers. I think this is quite good enough. It mostly just hits Narset. I guess it hits Gear Hulk too. The 2 copies in the main are probably plenty. Yeah, none of these cards seem super exciting here. Yeah, we're gonna finish this match, but I don't think there's a chance this set doesn't make it to YouTube. I've been skipping over uploading things that are just dumpster fires to YouTube, and I think this is probably gonna qualify. These kind of mopey control decks just don't feel great in this format. Board in first if we see Azcant. I don't know. I have a lot of answers to Azcant at the moment. Alright, so do I Thought Erasure their redundant Teferi, or do I Prismari Command to set up Teferi of our own next turn? I think I want to do this to set up Teferi of our own. Yeah, I think that's probably a good summary, Richard. It doesn't feel like we could go, it doesn't feel like we're big enough to go over the top of something like what this opponent is playing, and we're definitely not big enough to get under it. I kind of like my hand. I'm gonna try and break their treasure and make one for myself. Okay, well, we get to try again next turn. We played Tybalt's Trickery yesterday. We played Command the Dreadhorde combo last week. I think Command the Dreadhorde combo last week counts as bad but sweet.
Keep up the pace.
And deck definitely wasn't good, so bad but sweet sounds appropriate for it.
Sorry, I'm late. Not so fast.
I mean, to people saying Niv's just bad Tef, I think that's not a good summary at all. Or bad Gearhulk, I don't think that's a good summary. They're different cards. I mean, like, the card advantage from Niv doesn't seem worthwhile. Like, every time we've resolved Niv, it's been great. Like that, I think I funded, not even think, I definitely disagree with that assessment. I think that's way off base.
That didn't go according to plan.
It's a shame we don't have one more land tier. If we had an untapped land, I could go Teferi into one of these. I'm gonna veto this. I think I want to get into their hand here to stop another Planeswalker. They had another Teferi earlier. Yeah, I think too often Magic players like to compare things that shouldn't be compared to each other. We've talked about that before. Yeah, like, we're not in a terrible spot here. And we're not in a terrible spot because of this, right? Like, this drew us 4 good spells.
Right on schedule.
Oh, you know, I'm probably supposed to leave up green-red here. So if I draw any untapped land, I can cast Klothys.
We need to move quickly.
Well, the good news is we're going to get to Maelstrom Pulse their Magma Opus tokens this turn. Maybe? Are they not?
Keep up the pace.
That shock definitely means they have Magma Opus, right? I forgot to float mana here. Should put a stop. Looks like they're responding anyways, so that's fine. So we'll do this in response here. Yes, playing Sphinx's Revelation is incredibly greedy. This deck doesn't need more beef. Especially with the addition of what's it called? Alright, are we dead? With the addition of Magma Opus. Gonna go ahead and do that. Just guaranteed take that off the table in case this is another counterspell. I obviously could plus to draw and then do it, but if like this is a veto, I end up in a bad spot. It's like if they have a gear hulk here, another Magma Opus or a Helix, we die, but can't play around that. I mean, avocado toast for breakfast. What is my home being foreclosed on? Asking the real questions. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be done with this. Maybe I will post this one on YouTube anyways, just to like, I think I have a good, like, this set felt like it highlighted things that are valuable, so even if the set was bad, like the short video will relay that the set wasn't good, I think, but for people that want to see this, I think it does a good highlighting of why the deck doesn't work. Honestly, you know, to give credit where credit is due, I spent a lot of time thinking about the mana base, and we were able to consistently cast our spells every single game that we played. So from that perspective, like, the deck was functional. The problem wasn't that it was functional. The problem was that, like, this style of deck just isn't good enough for this format. And the last opponent that we played against, you know, we weren't good for a variety of reasons, you know, like random things like losing to Mill because our deck wasn't proactive, and then you had issues with like the last game where like we weren't even the biggest fish in the package, right? The biggest fish in the sea. Like, if you're going to be kind of this greedy control deck that's trying to be reactive, you generally speaking want to be the biggest thing in the format, and we weren't even able to do that successfully. Now I'm not going to play the energy build right now. If people want to check that out, the energy build is up on the website along with the video, but so check. If you want to see a decent version of 5-color Niv, there's a more proactive energy build up on the website, and I definitely prefer to this one. Black White Vampires.